Joining us now is Michael LoPresti of the Lighthouse and the Whaler. They will be performing November 18th at the Middle East in Cambridge. The band has just released a new EP titled Paths. Tickets are available at mideastoffers.com. Michael, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Tell me about the making of the new EP. Where was it recorded?
It was recorded at Superior Sound in Cleveland, Ohio, and in my attic at my house in Cleveland Heights in Cleveland, Ohio.
Interesting choices. Why the attic?
Well, we had done some pretty big records in Montreal and Seattle at some pretty amazing studios, and this time around we wanted to kind of stay home in Cleveland and support the people who were working in the music industry here in Cleveland. The attic ended up coming about because that's where I do all of the demoing for the band when all the guys, we get together, and that's where we record. We have a little studio in my attic, and we just got a lot of sounds that we really loved up there, and we didn't really want to change them. And so when we went into the studio, we pulled over probably half of the 5-song EP, like the stuff from that EP, different pieces from the song. Almost half of the tracks came from just the time demoing and working up in the attic studio.
Interesting. So did you work with a producer in both spaces, or did you self-produce the EP?
We self-produced it. Again, we had worked with producers before, and they were great experiences, but this time around, I just think we kind of hit our stride. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew how we wanted it to sound, and we had learned a lot from the previous experiences we had working on our other records, and just each of us has our own experiences from working on different albums and records of our own. And so we just kind of took all that, and we had a goal, knew what we wanted to do, and we went for it.
What was the decision to do a 5-song EP instead of a full-length album this time?
Well, we actually had a full-length prepared. We recorded 10 songs, and we chose to go with just the 5 songs that we felt like were the strongest of the batch that we recorded. I think the thinking was really just that I had 30 or so more demos that I had been working on since the summer, and we decided that it would be best to put out an EP, keep, getting our fan base excited about what was coming next, give them some new music, and then hopefully, in 2018 come out with a full length. And we also really felt like the song Paths was sort of a song for the moment for us as a band, and so that also kind of played into just sort of saying, let's put a couple songs around Paths and make that the feature of this EP.
Tell me about the song Paths. Is that a song that you wrote specifically about the band right now, or did you feel like it more just fit the theme of what was going on currently?
I mean, I think it's kind of both, but it was definitely a thing that we wrote for us as a band and where we are. Being in the music industry is crazy, in this day and age. And there's so many avenues and so many ways that bands are able to sort of break out from where, they start. And for us, we've been doing this for 9 years now, and it's just interesting to look back at all of the different avenues that we took to get where we are, and hopefully, looking forward at different paths that we'll take as we keep moving on with our career. And so I think Paths was really just a song that kind of struck us in the moment that this is just a journey, and you kind of have to look at it like that, especially with how difficult it is to go past sort of, to kind of, breakout is a weird term to use, I think, but to kind of go to the next level of just being able to sustain yourself year in and year out. It takes time to do that. And so I think that's kind of where Paths originated from.
Who designed the artwork for the EP?
I did. I was a designer. Yeah, I was a designer in a previous life. No, I did design work for a while, just in college and then in the beginning years of the band. And That is actually a picture of Iceland. My wife and I went there 2 years ago, and just blown away. I mean, I know everybody who goes there just blown away by the sheer natural beauty of the place, but the people are amazing and as well. But the EP paths, just that idea of like trying to find, I don't know, it just connected with me. That image just with the road and just this like almost desolate winter landscape, but at the same time, it's not really desolate. It's like magnificent. I think it's just got a great juxtaposition, the parallel between those two ideas of like, you can look at it as being desolate, but you could also look at it as being magnificent and beautiful. So I think that's kind of what we wanted to achieve with the cover was, I love in our music giving people a choice. Like, you can take this however you want to take it. I'm not telling you what to think. Like, I want you to like join me in trying to figure out life and whatever that looks like for you. You know, I mean, it's like, I think that's what music is. It's what it does. It's supposed to help us to understand who we are.
How would you describe the sound of the band for somebody who's never heard you before?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, when I describe it to people who I don't think would know any bands that we would say were similar to, I just say I think that indie rock would be a good way of describing it. But I'd like to, I guess I could make up the genre like adventurous indie rock, because I think trying to go for this idea of like being on an adventure, that goes all the way back to like one of our first records called This Is an Adventure. But we never really lost that identity. So I think that's how I would describe it. I'd be like, if you're planning on like going hiking, or, you know, you want to roll down the windows and drive down like this amazing like road and backwoods or something, like put on the music. That's the best way I could tell you what to expect.
Who were some of the major influences for the band when you were first starting?
When we were first starting, Bon Iver was a big influence on me. I wasn't really a music person per se. I didn't listen to tons of music growing up. I wasn't like overly musical. I mean, I did I was in band in high school, and I played piano when I was younger, and my mom wanted me to take lessons doing that. And it wasn't until I was in college that I really started to like care about music. And Bon Iver it was before anyone really knew who he was. One of my friends was like, you need to check this guy out. His name's Justin Byrne, and he goes by Bon Iver, and you need to listen to his music because it's really good. So I listened to it, and it was really one of my first experiences with just like something that I would describe as like different, like outside of the norm. It wasn't like a top 40 radio kind of sound thing. And so that was a sort of turning point for me, which is weird, I guess. I mean, I know a lot of musicians, they have like all these memories from when they were younger, but for me, it wasn't really until later in life that I really had a profound musical experience.
Was the band formed while you were in college?
No, it's after. So it was in 2009, technically 2008, but it was like December of 2008. So we just say 2009. But I graduated from college, and I didn't really know what I was going to do next with my life. And I had played music quite a bit in college as I was like kind of exploring that world. And I decided, hey, I'm going to make a little EP or put some songs together. And when that's how the band started, I started working on a couple songs in the studio that a friend of mine owned, and he was just giving me some free studio time to kind of mess around and, you know, do some songwriting. And some of the guys that I brought in to work with me, they ended up making up the first members of Lighthouse and the Whaler.
You guys are from Cleveland. Tell me about the music scene in Cleveland and what it was like for starting out in that city.
Actually, Cleveland is an amazing city to start playing music in, primarily because I think we have this thing, and I don't know if it's like a saying that everybody would agree with necessarily, but it's something that we feel, and that's Cleveland is for Cleveland. I think if you do something from Cleveland, that's a value. People get behind it, and they want to see it succeed. And so in the music industry, like the venues here are very, very supportive of local music. They constantly are searching for like new local bands. Like if you put out an EP and you never played a live show, they'll reach out to you and be like, do you want to play and open for this band? And they'll put you on some opening slots. And as you prove yourself and you build a fan base, you know, you can get on some great opening slots for good national acts in Cleveland. And so I think the Cleveland music scene is also really close knit. Everyone knows each other, even if it's just by name. Like if someone came up to me and was like, "Do you know so and so in this band?" I would know who they are, just because it's such a small community. And that's really cool too, because when one of us succeeds, it's great for everybody. And I think that's something that's really unique to the Cleveland music scene.
What are some of your favorite venues to perform at in Cleveland?
The Beach Room Ballroom and Tavern is definitely number one. They gave us our first show ever as a band, and have been immensely supportive. And the ballroom that they have is just amazing. It's so awesome. It's like a 550-person room, and when it's packed out, it's just, there's nothing like it. And then the Grog Shop, which is like 15 minutes from where I live, that's another like classic Cleveland venue that we really enjoy playing.
Are there any bands in the Cleveland music scene that you want to give a shout out for us to check out in Boston?
Yeah, definitely. Welshly Arms is a band from Cleveland that a couple of our good friends are in, and they are doing some great things right now. I definitely think that people should listen to them. And then a brand new band from here in Cleveland, they're just recording their second EP? It's like either their first or second EP. It's called Saint Light. So if you can go online and check them out, that'd be great too. One of our good friends growing up started that band. So those would be two that I would say you should definitely go check out.
Are you guys Cleveland sports fans?
Absolutely.
Favorite of the four?
For me personally, it's the Indians, Cleveland Indians.
Okay. A little bit of a disappointing loss there a few weeks ago.
It was, yeah. I'm a really big baseball fan in general. I really love the Indians. So for me, it was tough. We were on tour, and we were watching everything, and I was hoping that they would make it to the ALCS. They lost in the ALDS. I was hoping they'd make it to the championship series so that I could go to a game when we got back from tour, but unfortunately, it just wasn't to be. So next year.
Next year, yeah.
Yeah, next year, hopefully.
I know. Well, we're Red Sox fans here, and we're having a similar experience right now with them going down in the DS as well.
Yeah, that's true. I know, you guys, and you just manager change and everything as well.
Where does the name The Lighthouse and the Whaler come from?
It comes from the book Moby Dick. That was a book that, when I was growing up, I read several times. Pretty hefty book, but it comes from a chapter where the whalers have a chance to, when they go home to Nantucket, there's a lighthouse, and that's like their way of knowing that they're home. They see the lighthouse first before anything else. And so in the book, they have a chance to go home or to chase the white whale, and they're within sight of the lighthouse, and they, obviously choose to chase that whale down. And the rest, people probably know the story, but that just was sort of a metaphor for destiny for me. I always really believe that whatever you do, you kind of have to put everything into, like, no matter what the consequences, I guess. And so when I read that book growing up, I was like, whatever I choose to do, I'm going to do it like 110%. And even if it's, leads to things that maybe I didn't see coming, or if it fails or whatever happens, like, I'm still going to go for it with everything I have. And so I think that's sort of the mentality we have with Lighthouse, but it also kind of is what the name sort of came out of, that sentiment.
What kind of guitar are you using on tour right now?
I use a Gibson ES-339.
What's the reason behind using that guitar?
I really wanted to use the 335, but it's just bigger. And the 339 is a little smaller. I'm a smaller guy, and so I always loved Gibson. Growing up, I was all my friends who were in bands, they were like, Gibson is the best, and so I didn't really know that much about guitars or anything. And so once we started playing out more and touring and everything, I decided that that was the guitar company that I wanted to go with. And I had a friend who got a 335. I played it, and I was like, this is too big, but I want to go with a guitar similar. So I got the Gibson 339.
What are the plans for the future of the band after this short tour coming up?
We are planning on going back into the studio and beginning work on a full-length record, which we hope will come out in 2018. There are plans to tour the West Coast as well in the beginning of 2018. So those are the two main things for now.
All right, Michael, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today, and we'll see you on November 18th in Cambridge.
Awesome. Thanks so much.